The E3 conferences finally kicked off today with Bethesda's conference, and we saw quite a huge amount of content. In this video I'll be going over what was announced and my thoughts and opinions on the news. The conference kicks off with Doom, and damn did they have a lot of gore to show us. From what we saw, Doom will be a huge graphical upgrade from the previous one, which shouldn't be a surprise seeing as 3 was from 2004. The great thing about this news was it was all about the gameplay. No pre-rendered cinematics, just hardcore gameplay, which I approve of. However, there are some bad things I noticed about the reveal. It completely focused on the combat, which, don't get me wrong, is completely amazing. But I liked how Doom 3 helped move the original Dooms to a more story-oriented game over just the killer-thon, and from what I saw it feels like it's going to be taking a more original Doom approach. However, it's likely they just edited the story parts out just to have it as a gameplay reveal, but it would have been nice to see some ideas of what is happening in the game and what they want to do with the story. However, negatives aside, they did bring some fresh new gameplay to the series. The biggest one we saw was the variety and amount of finishing moves, ripping zombies' arms off, punching heads off, and chainsawing people in half slowly. The most interesting thing I found about this feature, however, is it seems that enemies will also have finishing moves, which they can use on you. This is pretty neat because it means it isn't just something that you have as a player, it's something that the game has as a whole. Overall, Doom was very pleasing. I did like what we saw. Saw a lot of new things, we saw a lot of gameplay, we saw a lot of gore. It's what you expect from the Doom series. Just a pleasing look at the new Doom overall, to be honest. The next big news from Bethesda was a service called Festa Net, which aims to do what Steam and Origin did. It's basically just hopping on the bandwagon. I don't like things like this. It just means I'm going to have to remember a new password. It's going to complicate things. It's not making gaming easier. It's just making things more complex. So I'm just going to skim over this news. Next on Bethesda's list was Battlecry. Alright, swiftly moving on yet again. The next big news for Bethesda was for them to finally announce a Dishonored sequel, amply named Dishonored II. Of course, we already knew it was coming because of the Twitch test stream which accidentally leaked it during a test. The game looks pretty damn impressive. However, it was shown off using a pre-rendered cinematic, and I personally hate pre-rendered cinematics. They don't show you how the game actually looks, don't show you how the game actually works. It just shows you some pre-rendered animations, which is not a good way of determining how a game's going to be. To be honest, the trailer started out pretty bad. I did not care for the voiceover or what I was seeing. The villain looked pretty mediocre. However, once Emily approached the new villain, it got quite interesting. It started to show the abilities, the weapons, like the trusty crossbow from the first game, and a new enemy which was a robot with a mouthpiece, which was seriously creepy. Overall, I have high hopes for the game. From what the pre-render was trying to show me, I just felt it would have been better if they showed me gameplay over a pre-rendered trailer. Lastly, we have the big news from the conference, which was Fallout 4. I am a huge fan of the Fallout series myself, so I was quite stoked to see that they were indeed making a new one at last after that fake teaser we saw last year from a random person. This segment was chock full of what I'd like in my conferences, gameplay. This segment of the video is going to be long, so try to keep up. First thing we should note is the time the game actually takes place. It's actually set before and at the beginning of the nuclear fallout over the previous games, which showed mainly after the fallout, which is a new direction for the series, and it's one I quite like. So it's technically a prequel over a sequel, which is great. The first gameplay mechanic we were treated to was a counter customizer. The good and interesting thing about this, even though it didn't show any sliders, so we don't know how the counters are customized, it showed that you could customize both a male and a female, and that you would be a wife/husband couple, and you could choose who you want to play as. I believe it's the first time you can play as a female character in a Fallout game. Of the customization screen, we were treated to a tour of the town by a very Fallout-esque robot, which seemed to just want to help out after the tour. However, Fallout begins, and then the game truly begins. This is where we see the bulk of the gameplay from the reveal, and it's exactly what you expect from the series. The first upgrade we see is the big and fast world. There's so much more compared to the previous new games like New Vegas and number 3. It's just huge, it's fast, there's tons of people to meet, tons of places to go. The buildings are bigger, so much to explore, and this is great. The next key gameplay feature they did mention was how easy it is to change between first person and third person. As you know, in the previous games you could do this, but it was such a hassle to do it that no one ever did. They've now made the system a lot more redefined, and it makes it more worth it. And I like this, because that was one of my negative things about New Vegas, because it was such a hassle just to change between modes, and now it's just great that they've streamlined it. The last gameplay mechanic they mentioned that was similar to the previous games was you still have a companion system, this time in the form of a dog. It's very smart AI, so you can get him to go fetch items, you can get him to attack enemies, you can get him to just be around you, you can play with him. It just gives the game a sort of home feeling in such a bleak and disastrous event, and this is great. One huge mechanic they did mention, which is new to the series, is that you can build a settlement, and then you can control the settlement, you can build it, you can improve it to get people to move in. This sounds like a great feature, however it falls short of what I expect from a game in this day and age, because it's just generic missions that you do there. Oh, build this because this person wants it, go to B, get this item, go back to A, defend A from B. It's very generic, but it'll be a nice little feature I might touch on when I play the game. I doubt I will spend a lot of time on it, however, due to how generic the missions will be. The only real negative thing I saw in the presentation of Fallout 4, however, was that they're going to have a companion app to go with it, which will be on your phone, sort of similar how GTA had the dog app. It's meant to be like a Fallout sim game, but I don't buy into these things. It's just a cheap advertising campaign so people get to see it on the store if it goes high on the sales. Personally, I will leave it alone, but it sounds interesting. I never really buy into these things, so I'm just going to skim over this news. And with that was Bethesda's conference over, and it did a great job kicking off E3. Overall, it was pleasing because of what we saw. The biggest negative I had for the conference, however, was the fact that there was nothing new, nothing shocking. It was all the stuff that we knew was going to be announced. And that's not a negative. It's great to have great games. It just would have been nice to be shocked and awed a bit at something new that we didn't know was coming. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to check out more of my videos by subscribing to the channel, as well as if you want more content like this, I'll be releasing more of E3 later this week, as well as you can check out my Twitch stream, which I stream on a pretty much almost daily basis. You can go check that out by looking in the description below.